Welcome to Single Moms Doing It All, the podcast. This is your host, Muriel Felous. And I know that on my podcast, on the graphic, we are talking about co-parenting with the universe, and that's going to be the topic today. One aspect of co-parenting with the universe. We're going to talk about the thoughts that block you, that prevent you from being able to really tap into that power and that support and being able to co-parent with the universe. Before I do start talking about that, and we'll also define what it means for me to co-parent with the universe. Before I do that, I want to welcome you if you're new to the podcast. I think I said my name was Muriel Felous. If I didn't, well, I am Muriel Felous. And I would like to ask you, if you like that podcast, if it helps you, please share it with your friends. Let them know about it. I have a lot of single moms following me, but I have a lot of moms who are not single. And recently, I even heard that some dads were following me too, listening to the podcast. So share it. I would love to help as many people as possible. And I would like to ask you also, if you feel so inclined, please put a review and a rating on iTunes, because that will help the podcast go rank higher. That way more people can discover it. If you haven't taken the opportunity to get your free Back to Peace kit for moms, go grab it on my site. It's totally free. And you'll also receive our weekly newsletter, so you'll know what we're about to do. You'll know when I have life coaching sessions with my members, which you can try for free because I have a 7-day trial option on my membership. So take advantage of that. We're going to have a live session in the upcoming weeks. I mean, not next week, but probably the week after. We just did one on fear, and it's powerful. So that's what I wanted to let you know. On a more personal note, my coaching has taken a new level because we went through something very challenging in my house. I'm not going to talk about it today because we're not completely on the other side of it, but woo! If I had to walk my talk and really apply what I preach, let me tell you, that was the opportunity, and I did apply, and I did use the tools that I teach you and the tools that I share with my clients and students. They work. They work in extreme situations. They work with problems that are extremely serious. And I'm so glad I'm a coach, because otherwise it would have been even more difficult. But I want to be positive today because the danger is now behind us, and I'm so grateful for that. So I want to be vibrating high, because we need that in our times. We need to be feeding the right field of energy. It becomes very obvious that now on the planet there are really two sides, the side of darkness and the side of more evolved consciousness, and I really want to feed the field that vibrates higher. So I hope you do so as well. You'll be happier if you do anyway. So let's talk now about co-parenting with the universe. What does it mean in my books? Well, the way I see it and the way I practice it and the way I teach it, there are many angles, but the major ones are, one, to be able to tap into the wisdom, because as parents, there is no manual, unfortunately, And even if there was, I'm sure you would need one manual per kid because they're all different. And what works with one doesn't necessarily work with the other. But when you get into your center, when you are able to work with your emotions, to gain more mastery on your emotions, and to access your center and be into a place of surrendering in a way. Sorry, I have allergies. In a place where you can access your heart, tap into the infinite field of wisdom to which we are all connected, which is available to all of us anytime, anywhere. That is one aspect of co-parenting with the universe, because it's very easy to be the victim of what society imposes on us regarding being good parents, regarding who our kids are supposed to be, what success means, how the journey, how the path should look. And it triggers so much fear. It generates fear because as soon as one of our kids is starting to detour from the model that is imposed to us, we right away are afraid. And as soon as we feel that we don't do what society is saying that we should do as parents, we start feeling guilty and ashamed, and we lose our power. So when you are able to access the purity of who you really are, a spiritual being, one that is connected to the universe, God, the field of infinite wisdom, whatever you want to call it, infinite love, you know your answers. And your answers may differ from your neighbors, from your friend who's a mom too, and they may differ, I never know. If you want, just go on my website, on my podcast page, and under this episode, let me know. You can put a comment with Facebook. So let me know if it's, I don't know how you would let me know if you're right. Well, maybe if it's differ, you can put 2 I's, and if it's differ, just 1. That way I'll know how to pronounce it, because I always get tricked by that. I'm always doing Franglish, but you know me. I'm fluent in Franglish. And I guess if you listen to me, you probably are starting to get fluent too. So, as I was saying, the answers can differ from one kid to another. But the way to know which one is in the highest interest of your child, who is also a spiritual being, is to access that spiritual guidance. So that's one aspect of co-parenting with the universe. The other aspect is that you can ask for solutions. And I've seen that many times in my life. And I've seen that recently with the major challenge that we had to face. When you ask, there is an answer. And your job then is to be centered and open enough to see it. Because sometimes either you have no idea of what the solution is, and frankly, maybe that's preferable because you don't get stuck into being inflexible. But sometimes you have an idea of how it should look, and that's when you trick yourself into not seeing the real solution that comes to you. Because you may be surprised by ways that the universe is going to support you. It may be a person coming into your life. It may be a book. It may be an idea. It may be an image, a movie. So many ways. It may be a conversation you overhear at the store. So many ways. So pay attention. It may even be sometimes I've seen my cat teaching me stuff about standing your ground. That's what my cat has taught me a lot. About not being a people pleaser. as cats can be very independent and they have their own idea of when you're supposed to pet them and what you're supposed to do and not to do when they decide that it's time. So, but that's I diverge. That's not what I wanted to talk about. Not my cat, but the solutions. When you ask, they will be provided. And sometimes you have to take a few actions. Sometimes you have to educate yourself. No matter what it is, see what is the next step that is presented to you. As Martin Luther King said, you don't need to see the whole staircase. So see what's the next step that you're inspired to do or to reflect on or whatever it is. And the third aspect of co-parenting with the universe is getting supported as far as feeling loved, as far as feeling safe. Especially as a single mom, sometimes we feel that we have so much on our back. We get depleted. Nobody's really, if you're single and you don't have a special someone in your life or you don't have friends who are strong enough to be your rock, you can have your rock through the universe, through God. That can be your rock. That can be the hug that you need. That can be the silence that you need sometimes. So the loving aspect of it and the cocoon of safety and love that is available to us. So that's the three aspects that come to me today when we talk about co-parenting with the universe. Oh, and a fourth one. The fourth one is to recognize that even though you're here to guide, and of course you have to put limits because you're a parent and sometimes you have to keep your kids safe despite their own idea of what it means to be free and safe, you are dealing with another spiritual being. And when you recognize that and when you learn that it is there, first of all, when you learn to access it, you have a model. And then you can teach that to your kids. That's something that I have taught to my kids. Sometimes they pretend they don't listen to me, but I see it at the end, it sinks in. It is available to them as much as it is available to you, which means anywhere, anytime, anyhow. So that's also another way of co-parenting with the universe, teaching them that aspect of themselves, supporting that sacred growth. So today we're going to talk about two kinds of thoughts that can block you from being able to tap into that support of the universe to parent. And the first aspect, the first kind of thoughts that block you from being able to tap into the support of the universe to parent is thoughts that tell you that you are a failure as a mother. So many of us, especially I was talking about what society is trying to impose on us, we feel inadequate. We feel that if we don't have the perfect relationship with no hiccups, we're failing as mothers. Or we feel that if we don't always know what to do, having thoughts like, I don't know what to do. You may feel that it is the truth, but I would add something like, I don't know what to do yet. I don't know what to do, but I am figuring it out. I don't know what to do, but I have inner wisdom and I'm going to use it. Because the I don't know what to do is a statement of powerlessness. And that will lead you nowhere than more powerlessness. And plus you feel like you're failing as a parent who's supposed to be a protector, a guide, and supposed to have the answer. Another thought, and this one I must admit that I was very familiar with when I was in depression. If you're new to my podcast, you may not know, but a few years ago when my kids became teenagers, I fell into a depression because it was too much for me as a single mom. I had so many responsibilities, so many balls in the air, fear because my kids started acting out in sometimes self-destructive ways. Um, I also was dealing with something health-wise. It was so much that I spiraled down into depression without even realizing that I was going there. And one of the thoughts that really brought me there, that I was thinking on a regular basis, was I don't have what it takes. It's too much. And that's the kind of thoughts that you have when you think about everything at one time. One thing that I've learned to do and that I teach my clients is to go one by one, step by step, day by day, and sometimes minute by minute. And if that resonates with you, there is a way that really helps me put all the overwhelming balls in the air to rest. I imagine that I have a divine shelf. And right now, it's not the time to deal with a specific issue or a specific thing that I have to do. Not right now. It's not the time to take action on it. So there is no point in keeping that in my mind 24/7. So I imagine that I put that worry or that to do or that to think about item on a divine shelf. And I give the universe the instruction that if they want to take care of it without me being involved, they can. And I'm kidding you not, sometimes things resolve themselves without me being involved. So if you are really, really, really OCD, let's say, about it. I'm an accountant, so sometimes I get OCD about small details. I was trained in accounting. That's what I mean. I am not an accountant. That's not how I define myself anymore. I have to write them down because I'm afraid that I'm going to forget some. So I write them down and I put them somewhere where I don't look at it and I consider that they are on that divine shelf. So if you have to do that to feel at peace, do that by all means, whatever works for you. What kind of other thoughts can block you? Anything that will put you in a situation of a victim or in a situation of feeling powerless. Because although you cannot control everything, that's an illusion. You can only control yourself and sometimes even not. You can decide to pick a story that will give you your power back. And even if it is only, let's say, you have a very difficult teenager, very argumentative, every day is another conflict, even if it is only to take your power back through lowering the sensitivity of your triggers. Let's say when they're moody and they're mean, you teach yourself to not react, to not go into an autopilot of reaction to what they're sending your way. That's power already. And I have, excuse me, that's why I created my membership, because I realized that when I started working on my triggers, I started working on my triggers not with my kids, I started way before that. In other relationships, in love relationships, to be really transparent. When I was coaching people on dating, because before that, I was the queen of attracting very dysfunctional and not working relationships. So I started desensitizing my triggers back then. And of course, that's something that I still practice because we'll be triggered all our life. Let's face it, we're human. But the more it goes, the less you are reactive, the less it disturbs your inner peace. So cultivating the art of not being disturbed emotionally is huge power. Because if the other person wants to dance, but you refuse to dance, they can only dance alone. And you watch them and you don't engage and you keep your happiness. Even if you're not fully happy in the moment, you're inner peace and your power. So that's one thought, like, it is so hard. I'm a victim. Why is it so hard for me and not for others? I hear a lot of moms saying that. First of all, we don't know what other people are going through. Even the ones who seem married and have it all together and they have everything. It may be true or it may not be. But it doesn't help us to go there. It doesn't help us to say, why did I have to be a single mom? Why does it have to be so hard? A more empowering thought would be, what's my lesson in that? There is always a lesson, even when it's super hard. If you are focusing on looking for the gift, looking for the lesson, looking for the takeaway, you won't be focusing on being a victim. And oh my God, that changes the whole picture. And you keep on growing. And life keeps on becoming easier and easier. Because you react and you perceive differently. And let me tell you, it works with even major challenges. There is still an effort to be made to divorce that thought in the moment and pick another one. And that's just a question of practice. At the beginning, it's going to be very hard. But the more you do that, the more you're able to do it. The more you're able to do it, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more you feel like doing it. So it's a positive cycle. The other kind of thoughts that will prevent you from... Sorry. Before we go to the other kind, one other thought that falls under the category of I'm failing as a mother is I am losing my child. Because what happens, I have a lot of clients, and as you know myself, who have kids who experimented with weed, or even worse, putting their life in danger, and they feel that they're losing their kid. First of all, are you really? You're not losing anybody. They're still here. They're still alive. As long as there is life, there is hope. And I was listening to an interview, and I hope it will never get there, but I was listening to an interview of a father who pulled his son out of heroin because he loved him and he was there. And he refused to give up. And he refused to see his son as... He was aware that he was an addict, but that's not the picture that he had in his mind when he thought about his son. He made sure that he kept a picture of a vision of your son the way that he wanted to see him, happy, healthy, vibrant, etc. So you're not losing anyone. It may be true that you're losing your ability to have a peaceful communication. You are going through a rough patch. You are facing a challenge. You are being called to be unconditionally loving. You are being called to maybe become tougher. That's one of the hardest things to do. For me, it was one of the hardest to stay loving through being firm and solid in myself with my beliefs of what I was supposed to do for the health and for the highest outcome, the highest good for my kids. Once you're solid and you know deep in your fibers, in the fiber of yourself, that what you're doing is for their highest good. Even if it's super tough, you will do it. So you're not losing anyone. It is not final. The only thing that is final is death. Meanwhile, you're facing very difficult challenges, but it is not final. And there is always hope. But the thing is for you to believe in it and to stay strong. Those are the two factors. Now let's go to the second category. The second category is thoughts that tell you that your child is failing at meeting your expectations. And that's a little bit tricky because that is very tied to fear. And that's just, by the way, that's what we just worked on in the membership this month. The life coaching was on fear and a process to work with fears. And one of the steps was to be able to sit in the seat of the observer and examine your thoughts. So, thoughts that tell you that your child is failing as being the child that you expected, it could be their thoughts like they're ruining their lives. It may be true that certain things that they will do, certain decisions, certain actions will make their life harder. But like I was saying, when there is life, there is hope. And it is not ruined. There are many people who went through very, very difficult stuff. Some people went through traumas and they still redirected and grew from it and are today happy, healthy human beings. So nothing is ruined. The kind of thoughts like that are catastrophizing thoughts will only lead you into fear. So they're ruining their lives. What if they stay like that for the rest of their life? Like, for example, if we're talking about smoking weed, let's say, what if they become a pothead for life? What does it help to you to have thoughts like that? It will only lead you to fear. So that's the time when you need to sit back, observe your thoughts, and examine the truth of them or not. Examine if they serve you or not. Do they make you stronger to deal with what's going on, or do they make you weaker to deal with what's going on? And if they make you weaker, you have to refuse to go there. And that's an intervention. We're talking about intervening on the behaviors of our kids, intervening on maybe the way they deal with school or whatever it is. You first of all have to be able to intervene on your own thoughts if you want to be strong enough to be who you need to be for them to become the highest version of themselves. Now, I've gave you some examples. What are your own thoughts? What are your own thoughts? What are your thoughts that you go to that prevent you from accessing the support of the universe, from co-parenting with it? What are the thoughts that weaken you instead of strengthening you? Start paying attention to them and start refusing to go there. You don't dance with those thoughts. Let them go. Let them be like a subtitle on the screen when you go see a foreign movie. It goes away. Something else is coming instead. The last thing I wanted to say is once you have refused a thought, once you've decided and you intervened on your thoughts to go where it serves you and where it gives you the ability to access the co-parenting with the universe, your next step is to open to clarity regarding your real power and what you can control and what you can't control. And see where is your truth. Putting aside the shame that society is putting on us, like I've mentioned several times, when we don't do things as they are expected of us, the guilt that we may feel for former mistakes with our kids, or the fear. be extremely clear on where your power lies. For example, you may not force your kids to work on their schoolwork. You may put limits, but ultimately they are the ones who are going to decide to pay attention in class, do the work, not do the work, etc. You don't have control of that. And so become really clear on what are the limits you're willing to put in place, what are the consequences, and not to create more crisis than necessary, to maybe support beliefs that you don't really believe in. Like, they need to go to college. Everybody's telling us that the kids need to go to college. Do you really believe that? And if you do, that's your opinion, that's what you do. But be clear and be solid and be ready to go to battle with that if that's really your belief. My belief is it's not true. Some kids will go, some kids won't go. For some kids, it's a determining factor for their success. For others, no. What are you ready to defend? What are you ready to stand for? And how far are you willing to go? Because if there is the tiniest doubt, if there is the tiniest wavering, it can be felt. And you won't be able to really impact your kids in the way that you want. Know what is your purest, deepest belief. And if you're not sure of what it is yet, go down inside. Meditate. Go in silence. Write. Some people don't like to meditate, so take a piece and paper and say what I believe regarding A is, and see what comes. And sometimes it's going to be, I don't know yet. What I believe regarding A is, I don't know yet. And you write for at least 5 to 10 minutes and see what comes. See also, when you say something, is your body at peace or is your body reacting? Is it something that you say because you need certainty, you need knowing, or is it something that comes from your inner wisdom? Now, of course, you're going to access your inner wisdom, so what is called co-parenting with the universe. It doesn't guarantee a happy ending. We're not in a movie here. It can be that the happy ending is going to come. It can be that it's not going to come. Unfortunately, there are endings that are not happy, but it is not under your control. So the only way that you can make sure that you don't regret anything later, you've been there at the most of who you can be for your kids, it is that you have done everything you could coming from the most purest place. Not to please anybody, but to really go with your heart and what you believe. And I know it's very cliche, but it will make the difference between power and powerlessness, between happiness and love and depression and despair. One thing you always need to keep in mind is, are you willing to look for the goodness in things? And there is always. Or are you willing to look for the darkness in things? Even when it's challenging and it's very dark, there is always a little bit of goodness. So where do you want to put your focus? What field in you do you want to feed? because that will determine also how you can parent with the universe. To be able to parent with the universe, you have to be at a high vibration. You can't parent from with the universe coming from fear and despair and powerlessness. You won't have access to that. You will only have access to more fear and more of what you're already feeling. So it may require a little bit of effort, a little bit of cultivating your abilities, your muscle to go and connect with the truth and the purity and the magnificence of who you really are and what's accessible to you, but it's worth it. And the truth is, that needs to become a practice. The looking for the good instead of looking for the darknesses in things needs to become a practice, especially if you're going through challenges. Because let me tell you, if you are practicing the habit of looking for the darkness and you have normal little challenges, that may be difficult. But it's not the end of the world. It makes your life much harder. It makes their life much harder. It makes maybe the result not as highest vibration as it could be, not as positive as it could be. But when you're facing difficult stuff, I'm talking about dangerous stuff, about life and death stuff. If you have a tendency to focus on the darkness, you are lost. You won't be able to help anybody, not even yourself, and certainly not your teen. So to co-parent with the universe, start with knowing the thoughts that bring you in the opposite direction than co-parenting with the universe, and cultivating the habit of looking for the good in things, no matter how challenging they can be. On that note, I would like to do a mini meditation, a mini version of what I have, what I'm recording for my members, which is an energy, a visualization to be able to connect with that highest vibration and try to see the good in things. So if you are in a place where you can do that right now, close your eyes, sit comfortably, and take a few deep breaths, 3. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now feel your entire body relaxing on the chair. The more you breathe, the more relaxed you are becoming. And you're feeling now completely relaxed. And now bring to your mind an image, a vision of your teen in 10 years. You're together in a place, either as a family event, at a graduation, some kind of celebration. Could be a wedding, anything that comes to you, where you know it's going to be filled with joy, happy moments, people you love around, and your teen who's now an adult. And that adult is healthy, is fulfilled, loves life, joyful and happy. This is the highest version, your hope of who your teen is going to become. And say, put a hand on your heart. See your child who's now an adult. Remember all the hard time, all the things you had to do, all the limits you had to put. It was all so difficult, but look at them now. So worthy. All those efforts, maybe sleepless night, doesn't matter anymore. They're happy. They're healthy. They're fulfilled. They do something they love. They're surrounded with people who love them. And say thank you to life, to God, to the universe. It was all worth it. Breathe the joy and the gratitude. It's all behind now. It's the good stuff. And you feel so proud as a mom or as a parent. All your efforts paid off. You're so happy. They're healthy. They're happy. They're fulfilled. It was all worth it. Thank the universe. Take a deep breath of gratitude. And now let go and open your eyes. That vision, you need to cherish it. You need to know it by heart. You need to be able to command it on demand and feel it on demand. Because that vision will help you in the most difficult moments. To help you remember that things are temporary and even the storms are temporary. Even the storms on the ocean don't last forever. And you have what it takes in the difficult moments. Remember that vision. So I send you love and I send you a connection to me and to the universe. I'm literally sending you energy from my heart to yours. You're not alone. We are not alone. It's available for us. Bye for now.